Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, snow and ice come in with the latest cold snap to hit Mississippi.
Clarke County 4-H hosts a livestock show for special needs showmen in equipment.
Irrigation and how to manage it were two popular topics at the Delta Ag Expo in Cleveland.
In the markets, wheat prices aren't getting any support from lower corn and soybean trade, as some retailers may be pushing back from high beef prices. Brian Williams has analysis.
In the feature segment, high tunnels. These greenhouse-type structures operate without heat, but they allow growers to plant earlier and grow later, the times of traditionally higher prices.
This comes in a lot earlier. We picked our first tomato April the 28th, I believe. The first ripe one, not the first green one, the first ripe one.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week.
It's happened again, another single-digit cold snap in Mississippi, this time with snow and ice in the state.
Late in Tuesday morning, the lows ranged from 5 degrees at Corinth to 22 degrees at Pascagoula, a hard freeze for all of Mississippi. A low-pressure system in the Gulf of Mexico met this cold front and resulted in snow and ice for the southern part of the state and other parts of the southeast. The snow and ice moved in Monday night and shut down many roadways, offices, and schools on Tuesday and Wednesday. This video was taken on Highway 15. The most snow and ice, 4 inches, fell in southern Rankin County. The National Weather Service said many areas received 3 inches. Extension beef cattle specialist Jane Parrish with Mississippi State University said, surprisingly enough, her windshield surveys show most Mississippi cattle appear to be weathering this January cold snap.
Now, I know that there are exceptions, that there's some cattle that may not be in ideal condition, but what that tells us when we see those cattle that are in good condition in these type situations, and what you'll also notice in those pastures where the cattle are in good condition, you see the hay out, you see the feed troughs out, so you know that the reason those cattle are in good condition is because somebody's in those cattle and they're managing them. They're providing them with the nutrients, they're providing them with the dry ground and the shelter and the little things, making sure that they have those water supplies on a continuous basis. So that's why those cattle are doing well.
Parrish said cattlemen need to make sure their cattle have free access to water, even if it has to be trucked in. Cattle energy needs during a severe cold snap are far above those of a fall day.
Then we may be talking about a 70% increase in maintenance energy requirements. And they're also eating more. You know, when it gets hot, you don't eat as much. It's the opposite in the winter. When it gets cold, you eat more. And that's the way it is with cattle, so they're consuming more, and we need to make sure that they're taking in energy. Again, I go back to what we said about the forage supplies not being the best quality in a lot of cases, that stored forage. So just because they're eating more of it still doesn't mean that they're meeting their energy needs. And that's where we've got to come in with some either good quality forage and most likely some energy supplements.
Now, turning to poultry, propane supplies are said to be running short in 31 states, including Mississippi. The price has more than doubled since December. It's left some poultry producers unable to afford to buy it. Some growers prepay for propane in the summer when they can get lower prices. Unfortunately, some propane suppliers have been unwilling to honor those prepaid contracts.
It's 2 years late, but the nation could see a new farm bill take effect in the coming week. The U.S. House of Representatives passed the Farm Bill easily on Wednesday by a 251 to 166 vote. All of Mississippi's congressional delegation voted for it. It's now headed to the U.S. Senate, where a positive vote is expected as early as Thursday. Reuters quotes White House spokesman Jay Carney as saying President Obama will sign it into law. The new bill is expected to save $23 billion during the next 10 years. $9 billion of those cuts came from the SNAP program, better known as food stamps. The direct payment program for farmers has been eliminated. Farmers will now have to choose between price-based and revenue-based subsidies. Crop insurance has been expanded. Farm-raised catfish growers benefited from a Thad Cochran-sponsored title to reauthorize the U.S. Department of Agriculture to inspect both foreign catfish imports and domestic catfish. Some contend that this is a trade barrier, while others say it makes sure foreign-grown catfish meet the same requirements domestically produced catfish already have to meet. Catfish producers will also be eligible for crop insurance, as well as many specialty crops, including organic. It was a sellout as far as exhibit space at this month's annual Delta Ag Expo in Cleveland, Mississippi. That included the outdoor exhibit area, which visitors passed through on their way into the Bolivar County Expo Center. Over 100 different vendors were on site for the 41st annual event to showcase the latest ag products and technology to farmers. The exhibit area seemed to be dominated by equipment related to one aspect of farming in particular.
It's going to be a lot of irrigation. Water's a hot topic right now. We had about 100 folks in the irrigation seminar yesterday, and then a lot of people put on show specials as far as prices and things on some of their equipment and all. I think special offers and things like that.
The expo featured educational sessions on each of the major crops grown in the Delta, such as this seminar on harvest and storage issues with corn. The sessions provided farmers with the latest research-proven information for the upcoming growing season. The Delta Ag Expo is produced each year by the Extension Service and the Delta Ag Corporation.
The 4-H program in Clarke County, Mississippi holds an annual livestock show for young people with special needs. Special, however, doesn't begin to describe how it affects everyone involved. When it started, this unique livestock show was believed to be the first of its kind in the nation, and it served as a model for other states to follow. Farmweek's Amy Taylor reports from Quitman.
In Clarke County, Mississippi, the 4-H Special Needs Livestock Show provides an opportunity young people might not otherwise have. Jesse Miller of Quitman says partnering with special needs youth to help them exhibit animals is a fulfilling experience.
I'm going to be showing a goat with a special needs kid today. My brother's actually special need Wyatt Miller. He's got CP, he can't hear and he can't talk. It feels really nice because I'll try to help people because I don't want other people to feel left out because they can't do anything. I mean, they can. I would say that you can do anything you want, you just have to believe. I think it makes them feel really good inside because they know that I'm trying to help them to do something.
Additionally, Wayne County 4-H joined with Clarke County to be part of the show. Clarke County, Mississippi State University Extension Service agent Christy King explains how the event originally got started.
Many years ago, we had one of our 4-H parents with a special needs child approach Extension Service and inquire about their child participating in a special needs livestock show. And with that was the birth of the idea of a special needs show. Now, years and years went by, we had the special needs show, and eventually those kids aged out and interest kind of dwindled. But in 2012, we were partnering with the local schools for special needs 4-H programming, and the idea of the special needs livestock show was reborn. This gives them the opportunity to get real hands-on experience with an animal.
In addition, King says the 4-H Special Needs Livestock Show was the first of its kind, serving as a model for other states that followed. A regular 4-H livestock show took place after the event, which was held at the Clarke County Multipurpose Building. From Quitman, Mississippi, I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
Leighton, I remember I reported on the first special needs livestock show to be held down in Clarke County so many years ago. It's good to see it's operating again. Now, normally we have a southern gardening segment at this time, but due to time constraints, we'll have to promise it to you next week. In the feature segment today, high tunnels. These greenhouse-like structures are helping many growers to be part of the local food movement. Time now for the markets with Leighton, and you say there's a possible break in wholesale beef prices?
Perhaps an extension economist will be here to discuss that in a moment. Also ahead in the markets, hog prices appear to firm up. Soybean consumption draws attention. as biodiesel production sets a record. We begin in the beef sector, where the direction of wholesale prices and some fresh report numbers are being big topics for discussion. Extension Ag economist Brian Williams joined me Thursday morning. Well, Brian, let's back up to that January 24th on-feed report first. Talk about placements and total number of cattle on feed.
Well, I guess to start off, we'll run through some of the numbers. The total number on feed was expected to be down around 6%. The actual numbers came in down around 5.4%. The marketing was expected to be up just over 2%, and it was actually down 0.5% from a year ago. And then the placements were expected to be down almost 2%, and they actually ended up 1%.
So most of these numbers kind of within the range of the pre-report guesses, no real surprises.
They were no big surprises. The on feed were close to the high end of the range, but they were still within the range of expectations.
Would this be a time as far as trying to hedge some cattle or getting some protection through puts? Any kind of recommendations or suggestions there?
Well, the report overall was slightly bearish, a slightly bearish report. Which could and did bring prices down just a little bit, but at the same time there's still a lot of pressure because of the low cattle numbers to keep the prices from going too far down.
All right, there's been a little bit of buzz this week. One of your colleagues at Oklahoma State saying that, in his opinion, wholesale beef prices may be coming down, cooling off a little bit. How do you see that situation?
Yeah, we saw last week the wholesale boxed beef was trading around $240 per pound. This week it's closer to $230, so we've seen a decrease in the boxed beef prices. But the big question is that a matter of short term or long term? The short term, there's been some events. I'm sure that most people are aware of the snowstorm that came through the south and the cold weather that's kept people from consuming the beef. And so is it that short term thing, or is it a longer term trend?
All right, Friday the semi-annual cattle report comes out. We're actually recording this before Friday afternoon. Is that expected to have any ramifications for the market?
There's some potential. It's a report we're really watching closely. Right now the expectation is that all cattle and calves are going to be down about 1.4%. But the big thing that we've been looking at with cattle and feed reports and stuff is that there's been some indication of an increase in replacements, and is that going to show up?
In the hog sector, it appears market prices will be firm. Analyst Steve Meyer of Paragon Economics says pork production will be down 2 to 4% in the first and second quarters due to porcine epidemic diarrhea virus. He believes this drop in output will be positive for farm gate prices. Meanwhile, analyst John Roach is also optimistic about hog prices moving forward.
We think in general the hog market moves higher, but again, we've got sell signals on the charts. So we're up into price areas that if you're looking for places to be putting some hedges on or getting some puts, this is probably the right area to be looking. But we're not negative the market. We think price levels will be firm. We think that we're really getting into some of the better supply periods here as we move forward.
Our trivia quiz this week concerns water, and here's the question: how much of our world's agricultural land is irrigated? Is the answer 18%, or 25%, or 49%, or 64%? I'll tell you at the end of the markets.
We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the rest of the markets. Leighton Spann reports soybeans are disappearing while the bottom may finally be in for wheat. In the feature segment today, high tunnels. These greenhouse-like structures operate without heat, but they extend the growing season for local food growers.
Mississippi 4-H celebrates a rich history of youth development through creative hands-on experiences. Programs emphasize leadership, technology, science, and agriculture.
But it's a lot more than that. Making the best better.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The North Mississippi Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association will hold its annual conference and trade show next week. It takes place Thursday and Friday, February 6th and 7th at the Lee County Agri Center on Highway 145 at Verona. Vegetable variety selection, greenhouse tomatoes, and fruit crops are on the agenda. Selling produce through the Farm to School program and the Mississippi Market Ready program will be offered as well. The Blueberry Growers Educational Workshop will be Thursday afternoon, February 13th. The location is the Forest County office of the MSU Extension Service on Sullivan Drive at the Fairgrounds at Hattiesburg. Blueberry research, plant nutrition, food safety, and other aspects will be covered. The keynote speaker is a recognized expert in mechanical harvesting of blueberries. Please register by February 6th. The cost is $10 per person. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now let's check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
We move into row crops now in the markets and begin this segment with soybeans. Traders continue to be focused on the bean supply, watching crop prospects in South America, as well as the speculation about U.S. acreage. AgFacts.com reports the market is bracing for bean demand to shift to South America, but so far, weekly export reports haven't shown much of a slowdown. Illinois ag economist Darrell Good says at this point, soybean consumption seems to be on track to exceed available supply. Meanwhile, in the wheat market, discussion is centering on whether a bottom has been put in for prices. Analyst Alan Brugler says wheat prices have definitely gotten more competitive as far as foreign sales, and that exports generally start to pick up again as we get towards the end of winter.
Realistically, the problem with wheat is that Canada had a huge crop that they're trying to move. They've got problems moving it. There's about a 30,000 rail car backup right now for moving wheat out of Canada. But that's forcing wheat south into the U.S. where they can. You've got Australia just having completed their harvest and competing in the world market. You've got India trying to move some wheat. And so the U.S. has had to lower our prices fairly considerably to get some activity. We did this week. We sold some wheat to Egypt, and that was an indication prices had gotten low enough to be competitive.
Newly released figures from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency indicate that the U.S. biodiesel industry set a new record in 2013. Production reached almost 1.8 billion gallons. The National Biodiesel Board is now calling on the Obama administration to increase its renewable fuel standard proposals to at least reflect current biodiesel production rates. Well, before the feature story, let's check the trivia answer for this week. The correct choice is A, and that 18% provides 40% of the world's crop production. In our feature segment today, High Tunnels. It is a production system that delivers better quality produce, higher yields, and an extended growing season in both the spring and fall. Farm Week visited two producers using the technology in East Central Mississippi, one who's just getting started and another who is a seasoned veteran. This story first aired on Farm Week last fall.
This comes in a lot earlier. We picked our first tomato April the 28th, I believe. The first ripe one, not the first green one, the first ripe one. And they are really beginning to come in now.
For fruit and vegetable producer Barbara Robinson, using high tunnels or hoop houses to grow her crops in East Central Mississippi makes perfect sense. The simple structures improve the profitability of her farm.
The earlier you get into the market, whether it's blueberries or vegetables, the better price you're going to get for it.
Robinson has 3 high tunnels on her farm in Quitman and is one of the more experienced producers in the state as far as this technology. Extension Area Horticulture Agent Wayne Porter and USDA NRCS personnel have used Robinson's farm to explain the benefits of high tunnel production to others.
Well, I think there is a possibility of people improving their cash flow and things like that by getting these crops out earlier in the year. We're looking right now, tomatoes probably a month earlier than the local producer, so you get a premium price.
Harvest is earlier because planting is earlier when using a high tunnel. The plastic-covered structures use the energy of the sun to warm the soil and the air inside, so crops can grow when it would be too cold on the outside in a typical field for production. Wayne Porter estimates producers can probably get a 50 cents per pound price advantage for having something early to a market using a high tunnel. Conversely, this technology also affords growers the opportunity to extend the growing season the other direction as well. A producer is able to grow fresh vegetables late into the fall and be paid a good price when they're ready to sell. However, Barbara Robinson found out there is a temperature limit for tunnel production when it's well below freezing.
I've grown vegetables, planted them in the fall. The first ones I planted, the tomatoes, I had them to the temperature went down to 18 degrees. And when it went down to 18, I lost them. And that was in December of 10.
Just outside Meridian in Lauderdale County, producer Danny Daniels put up his first high tunnel in February 2012 and filled it with 240 tomato plants. This farm was used by Extension and NRCS for outreach meetings to explain high tunnels in 2012 and 2013. Daniels says just having the structure in view in his community improved his business.
It's been a lot of people interested in it, and they know I'm going to have tomatoes now. Used to, they couldn't see them out in the field.
Daniels planted the Bush Early Girl and Celebrity tomato varieties in his tunnel. As he told these visitors to his operation, there are adjustments when shifting to tunnel production from a traditional outdoor field setting. For example, variety selection is based on the need to give a sequence in ripening.
It's a learning process, and I've learned it since this is my first year with high tunnel, and so far it's working out real well.
Back in Quitman, Barbara Robinson planted Applause, Bush Early Girl, and Amelia varieties of tomatoes in her tunnels early in the year. She says the Bush Early Girl is supposed to mature in 52 to 54 days. In addition to tomatoes, Barbara Robinson also has cucumbers and a host of other vegetables growing in the high tunnels. Again, the tunnels provide early maturity on all crops.
She started harvesting bell peppers, hot pepper, eggplant in the last week of April, which is in a normal growing season, we'd be looking sometime in mid-June on these crops.
Robinson had never grown vegetables, only fruit such as blueberries, muscadines, and figs before she got her first high tunnel. She bought that first tunnel used from someone in Verona and hauled it down to east central Mississippi on a cattle trailer.
So I brought it back, and my grandsons and I erected it. Did not get the plastic tight enough, and a very heavy rain pulled it down in the center. So we had to go back up with it.
It was the spring of 2010 when Robinson planted her first crops in a high tunnel. The outer covering of these structures is typically a single layer of greenhouse-grade 4 to 6 mil polyethylene plastic. The frame is usually steel, but could be PVC pipe. A high tunnel is typically 30 feet wide, but its length can vary from 30 or 40 feet to over 100 feet. There are many sources for high tunnel building materials. It can be a do-it-yourself project from the ground up. You can also order a kit, or you can hire someone to bring in the materials and handle all the construction. Cost share programs are available too. Both Barbara Robinson and Danny Daniels took advantage of financial assistance available through the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service and EQIP to set up some of their production.
With the individual farmers today, we were able to cost share with the seasonal high tunnel, as well as the irrigation system to irrigate the produce inside the seasonal high tunnel.
Even without a cost share, though, I think you could pay off one of these tunnels in a 3-year period without too much effort.
Usually, the only external utility connection to a high tunnel is a drip irrigation system. The fact that it cannot rain inside the tunnel is a plus. Less moisture on the foliage means less chance for disease. This also reduces weed problems. There is no automated heating or cooling system. It's all done manually. Cooling is achieved by rolling up the plastic on the sides and ends of the tunnel. Heating is achieved by keeping the plastic down on all sides. naturally trapping solar heat during the daytime and keeping it in through the night.
The #1 crop is tomatoes because that's a good high dollar crop. But if you got tomatoes, when you go to sell, you can sell other produce. Ms. Robinson here has the eggplants and the various kinds of peppers and some squashes. So, you know, the idea is sell something that anybody wants.
It's a formula that's working for Barbara Robinson as well as Danny Daniels and other producers. From East Central Mississippi, I'm Leighton Spann reporting. You can watch this feature story again on High Tunnels at our Farm Week website, the Facebook page, or on YouTube. The Mississippi State University Extension Service has a special portion of its website set apart with a lot of information on high tunnels. We'll also have that link on the website and our Facebook fan page. That's farmweek.msucares.com. And artist Barbara Robinson told me that she's hoping to pick up her plants February 15th and begin putting them in the tunnels shortly thereafter.
It really does work. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, a one-of-a-kind farm management class at a university.
At Iowa State, the students manage 1,400 acres of row crops and 3,500 head of hogs. Their budget, nearly $750,000.
The Mississippi Horse Park was voted #1 for its dirt floor by rodeo riders. It held a workshop recently to teach other arenas how to do it.
In Southern Gardening, beat cabin fever by growing microgreens.
For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artist Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.